What's up, Alabama fans? It's Andrew Bone with BamaInsider.com. Just wanted to provide you guys with a little weekend update prior to the 8A game and just talk a little bit about Alabama's latest commitment, Jaheim Oatis, big 6'6", 300-plus pound defensive lineman from Columbia High School over in Mississippi. Huge commitment in more than one way. Obviously one of the top overall defensive linemen in the country, but just an absolute monster. And doesn't really look like he has any bad weight on him. And this is a physical specimen. He moves extremely well for his size, extremely athletic. This is a kid who plays multiple sports, plays basketball, plays baseball. Is also on the track team. So this is a guy that can absolutely move out there on the football field. I think Alabama fans should be extremely excited about this pickup. Obviously, defensive line always a top priority position for Alabama, and Jaheim Oatis was one of Alabama's key targets from the get-go. And from the get-go, I mean, since his 8th grade year. This is a kid who, attended Alabama's camp when he was in 8th grade, got noticed by Nick Saban and the coaching staff. They even asked him, what grade are you going into? Absolutely blown away when he told them that he was just going to be in the 8th grade. And Alabama's kept up with him, throughout the last few years. Even though we had, a COVID year where we didn't get a chance to really see a lot of recruits. Alabama and college coaches throughout the country didn't get a chance to see recruits. They knew all about Jaheim Oatis, and he's been on the priority list for a very long time for Alabama in this class. He had several other offers, had some other top schools that were strongly in it, including LSU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. But I think you got to give a lot of credit to Pete Golding, who is his lead recruiter, Alabama's defensive coordinator. Also Freddie Roach, Alabama's defensive line coach. Both of those guys did a tremendous job recruiting Oatis and making sure he felt like a top priority. And there's not a lot of players out there right now that I would say are 100% takes, even though they may say that they have an offer from Alabama. They may have Alabama in their top 5, top 7, top 10. That doesn't mean they can commit to Alabama right now. And a big part of that is summer camps. You're going to finally have an opportunity to see kids this summer, evaluate them, get to know them a little bit better. So the ones who are committing right now, these are the ones who are considered by Alabama to be the elite of the elite. I mean, these are top-end kids and definitely people that Alabama really has wanted as a part of their recruiting class. And Jaheim Oatis, definitely a big addition to Alabama's class. Now, I don't think that they are going to be finished on the defensive line by any means. There's still several guys who are out there that they're heavily recruiting. We're going to see a lot of those guys on campus during this summer. We're going to see a couple of those guys on campus this weekend for the spring game. But, some of the top overall defensive linemen that they're still going after, include Walter Nolan. 5-star defensive lineman from Tennessee, one top overall, is the top overall defensive tackle in the country. Travis Shaw out of North Carolina is a 5-star. Still think probably more of a Georgia, North Carolina, Clemson recruiting battle for him, but plans on visiting Alabama this summer, so we'll keep a pretty close eye on him, see if anything happens there. Marquise Grayseal out of Missouri. Has Alabama in his top 5, has showed a lot of interest in Alabama, throughout the last several months. So certainly somebody that we're going to be watching pretty closely. A few other guys that I feel like could end up becoming more of a priority target for Alabama this summer includes guys like Aaron Bryant, defensive lineman out of Mississippi, who picked up an offer from Alabama a couple months ago, but I still think Alabama wants to see him a little bit more. There's some in-state guys that heavily recruited by the Crimson Tide, including Jeremiah Alexander. Even though Jeremiah is more of a kind of a in-between defensive lineman linebacker, I would probably list him more in that jack linebacker position. But when we're talking about the strict defensive lineman, Justice Finkley out of Hewitt-Trussville, Curtis Perry out of Park Crossing, a couple in-state guys that they're heavily interested in. There's others, kind of throughout the country that, they're continuing to show interest in, continuing to recruit. So I would certainly, continue to keep your eyes open over the course of the next few months as kids continue to roll into town and visit Tuscaloosa. We may even see some more offers. I would not be surprised if we saw some more offers on the defensive front coming out of summer camps as the coaches are finally able to get their eyes on these guys. Jaheim Oatis, number 6 commitment for Alabama in this recruiting class. I think Alabama's off to a great start. Last year this time we were probably sitting, I think, at 1, maybe 2 commitments in mid-April, and now Alabama's up to 6. So you got to be excited about that. Some great out-of-state players. Walter Bobb, Elijah Brown, Ty Simpson, in-state wise, Emmanuel Henderson jumping on board. I mean, just a great group of commitments so far. Robert Woodyard. I think Alabama's off to a as good of a start as they probably wanted right now. There's so many guys that are still uncommitted, guys that they're still heavily recruiting that haven't made decisions. I said this last year. I said, when we start seeing Alabama commitments, when we start seeing Alabama targets start committing elsewhere, a bunch of them, then you got to start to worry. Most of Alabama's targets weren't committing yet. They were, holding out. They were waiting, hoping to see some schools. And unfortunately, most of them didn't get a chance to do that. So a lot of them started making decisions, and we started seeing those decisions happen. A lot of them were rolling in for Alabama. So be patient. We're going to see some more commitments happen over the course of the next few months. I think Alabama fans are going to be very excited about that. But heading into this weekend, we talked about the 8A visitors a couple days ago on our show on Tuesday with Mick Gillespie. Big group of visitors coming into town. Most of them are in-state guys. There are some out-of-state kids that are going to be in town. Ty Simpson, Alabama commitment, is going to be leading the charge. I'm sure he's going to be trying to talk to any recruit who's on campus. Certainly the guys that Alabama's heavily recruiting, and certainly one as a part of their recruiting class. Dane Shore, who's an offensive tackle out of Georgia. Definitely somebody that we're watching pretty closely. There's also some great in-state players that are going to be in Tuscaloosa in the 2022 and 2023 recruiting classes. Number one player in the state, Jeremiah Alexander. I still think it's an Alabama-Georgia recruiting battle for him. Alabama, certainly wants to keep him in state, and I think Alabama still has a great chance to pull him back in. Former, decommitted from Alabama back in the fall, but I think Alabama still has an excellent chance to land his commitment. One guy that I would probably watch pretty closely this weekend. Not sure if he's going to commit, but if anybody was thinking about committing, I could see Shamar James, outside linebacker from Faith Academy down in Mobile. Alabama fan, has a close friend in Deontay Lawson, who's a freshman linebacker. It could be a little bit of pressure for him to go ahead and jump on board this weekend. I know he's going to take an official visit to Alabama in early June and wants to get to some other places. But, if I had to put money on one guy that could make a decision this weekend, I'd probably lean to Shamar James. Some other in-state guys that are going to be in town and in the 2022 class. Antonio Kite out of Anniston High School, 4-star safety. Just finished up his first year of high school football. Has a ton of offers, but still trying to decide if he's going to play football or basketball at the next level. Maury Kelly, very outstanding athlete from Hewitt-Trussville, also going to be in town. TJ Dudley, 4-star linebacker from Montgomery Catholic. So those are some of the top in-state guys that are certainly going to be in Tuscaloosa this weekend, in addition to the commitments like Emmanuel Henderson and Robert Woodyard. In the 2023 class, I'll tell you what, the 2023 class in the state of Alabama, absolutely stacked. You look at, Peter Woods, number 5 overall player in the Rivals 100, plans on being in Tuscaloosa. James Smith, haven't confirmed 100% of James Smith is going to be in town. We're expecting him that he is going to be in Tuscaloosa, but James Smith, one of the top 30 overall players in the country, defensive lineman out of Montgomery. You also have Kelby Collins out of Gardendale, defensive lineman. I think he's number 28 overall in the state of Alabama. He plans on being in Tuscaloosa this weekend. Grew up a big Alabama fan. I don't know if he's going to commit just yet. I think he still probably will camp in Tuscaloosa, work out with the coaching staff. But he's certainly somebody that I feel like is more than likely going to be a part of Alabama's recruiting class in the future, in that 2023 class. And also Tony Mitchell, 4-star defensive back from Thompson High School. Definitely a big time player that I feel like Alabama's going to have a great chance with him. Former Tennessee commitment, teammates with Peter Woods and Jeremiah Alexander. Thompson High School just absolutely loaded. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on all those guys. We'll have a complete update on every single player we can on BamaInsider.com after the weekend. Obviously, we'll be back on our recruiting show next week. So I hope you all have a great weekend. Enjoy the spring game if you're going down to Tuscaloosa, or if you're even at home watching it on TV. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll catch up soon.